Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thank you very much to so many of you are now hitting the subscribe button on our channel and making us very happy indeed. Thank you to the people who are listening to the podcast and, of course, downloading the PLZ Soccer app. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff is alongside me. It's Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. It's uncensored, it's football news, it's banter, and it's absolutely free to watch. And here we are, the morning after the night before. We are, because of the weather, Ruffy, basically sitting in a room with a huge double bed. I think it's the same room that Eric and Ernie used in the 1976 Christmas special.
Yeah, let's just put it on the record that we weren't sharing this room.
Absolutely. Listen, we've got lots to talk about, not only about last night, but of course Scottish football, Hearts going into the last European game that we can look forward to this season, and that's against Istanbul Başakşehir. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about last night. Real Madrid 5, Celtic 1, and I have to say, Ruffy, the best line of the night had to be when the two of us are sitting in that fantastic press box. I looked at you, you looked back at me, and you said, well, 2 minutes gone, so far so good.
I thought for 2 minutes Celtic had them hemmed in,
Yeah.
you know, and then you turned to me and said they haven't been out their own half yet. And I went, well, just hang on a wee minute because it's just about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was a masterclass from Real Madrid. A lot of Celtic fans maybe some disappointed in the scoreline. Me revelling in the fact that not only were we in the Bernabeu, but we're actually watching world-class players. To say that you've actually watched Modric at close quarters and watched the way he moves and the way he plays and the other supporting cast, may I add.
Yeah, I have to say the scoreline never flatters any team. I think Ange touched on that after at the press conference. But as you said there, if you want to watch quality football and 90 minutes of it, you know, it was a spectacular view. And I'm sure a lot of the supporters will now buy into what Ange is saying. There is a massive distance in quality of the players that were on that part last night.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because we will talk later on about Borna Barisic, the Rangers defender, who's obviously been chatting after the disappointing Rangers performance in the Champions League as well. And he's talking about levels and the difference between the Europa League and that move up to, of course, the Champions League. But as a spectacle over 90 minutes, Ruffy, it was great to watch, not just because we were revelling in Real Madrid and their stars and the way they went about their business, but I thought it was an enjoyable game because of the way Ange Postecoglou's side went about their business. Open, naive, but of course they still created chances, which made it a good game to watch.
Yeah, I thought it was a good point he made at 2-0. You know, the chance, obviously the penalty kick, 2-1. And I know Real Madrid went up a gear, there's no doubt about that. But that penalty goal gives you the confidence to carry on and do what you're doing. And obviously that never happened. So, no, they plugged away. And they had other chances. And I looked at some of the stats after it. The Real Madrid goalkeeper had actually more saves than Joe Hart, you know, in that game. I know you've got to hit the back of the net, but that's what Ange's been saying all along. Hit the back of the net and it makes it a lot easier for you.
It's a brilliant way we can look at statistics and somehow look at them in a positive manner, although the key element of that stat is the fact that Joe Hart actually was able to bend over 5 times and pick the ball out of the back of the net. But the penalties, the first one, yep, fine with that. I mean, I don't think Stephanie Frappart had any major impact on the game as a bad referee. I thought, you know, sometimes referees infuriate you. So she went about her business. The second one you're not happy with?
No, I'm not happy with it even back home. You know, I think if somebody hits a shot and you turn your back to get away from it, and your arm is in an unnatural position, there's nothing you can do about it. If you're turning away, your arm's going to come out, and I just think it's a cheap penalty. I just think it's a waste of time. You know, if you're playing a game of football and you want to see spectacular goals, you want to see a bit of quality, and then a referee gives a penalty for nothing. It's not even going anywhere near the goal. It's not even going anywhere near a Real Madrid player, you know, and then you're deflated when you get it.
Well, before everybody steams in, because last week you got absolute pelters for some of your opinions on soft penalties. The fact of the matter is she has to look at it, or any other referee, and say, look, did it hit the hand? Have a look at where the hand to ball was. And of course we get a little bit infuriated because if there's a very short distance and you are trying to get out of the way of it, if it still hits it, she's implementing the rules. VAR has obviously highlighted to her, look, you're going to have a look at this, because under the UEFA rules, this and VAR is what constitutes a penalty. So, the mere fact that she goes over there, as soon as she went over, you said, this is another penalty.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as you say, it's in the rules. It's there, but the rules can be tweaked. I would like to
Celtic?
No, they suit a lot of defenders. I wouldn't like to be a defender.
Yeah,
I'd be hopeless being a defender. But the first thing somebody says to you as a defender when an attacker's coming in, go and close him down. So if you go to close him down and he hits the ball right at you, where do you go? I've seen a lot of the foreign defenders. They're pretty smart. They just go in with their hands behind their back, no matter where they are in the 18-yard box.
It's not a natural balance, that, though.
It isn't. No, it isn't.
But listen, I'm splitting hairs. It was a penalty. They got their 2 penalties. I've got no qualms with it. It was disappointing because it changed Ange Postecoglou's game plan. It goes right out the window, because at that point there was a period in the game where Celtic were shell-shocked. But they did get a penalty. And Juranovic, I don't know. I mean, he's got such a good record at penalty kicks, but Courtois clearly has had a look at a few of them, because he went up to his right-hand side, and I don't think he hit it as well as he wanted to.
No, with Courtois, he's so tall, you have to have it on the ground. You can't have it halfway up the goal. He's got such a reach on him to get there. And
is he the best keeper in the world?
No, for me, no.
No?
Oh. He's. I'm trying to think what I'm going to say here. He's more just wants to push the ball out the way. Never catches in. You'll never see him catching in. He just pushes. When somebody shoots, he just gets the ball out the box, get it away as far as the end. But another thing I would say is there was a game, I can't remember what game it was, you'll remind me. He was off his line before he hit it. And somebody got pulled up the other. Was it the Celtic game, the Rangers game? It was retaken. Remember in the league game?
Was that not for encroachment, Ruffy?
I thought it was because he was off his line, the line.
McGregor.
And they retook it. So, and you have to, the encroachment as well, there was people encroaching as well. With people coming into the box before that ball was struck. So, you have to tweak these things. If you're going to be consistent, you have to get it right all the time.
Yeah, well, listen, it suddenly became a difficult night for Celtic, because the manner of the other 3 goals was absolutely superb. Valverde, Vinicius Junior as well, and Rodrigo, they all chipped in too, and it was just a joy to watch the way they actually. Asensio's goal, he's just swept it with his left foot.
Yeah, if you love watching quality football, and you turned around to me and you said, "Imagine having a season ticket here. Imagine seeing this every fortnight."
Well, see, when we were walking down, I'm looking at the Madrid fans walking down. I'm thinking to myself, imagine living in a country where the only expectation, the level is, we want to win the Champions League. Nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm. And you can see why, with the quality on show, the movement and everything. I'd love to go to a training session, because the training session just gets taken onto the football park. Yeah. It's all about possession. It's all about being comfortable on the ball. It's all about making yourself available. And then when you get into the latter third of the park, you just switch on and you become something special.
Yeah, well, it was 5-1. What are your thoughts on it? Give us your thoughts on our feed. And also, don't forget, if you download the app, in the submissions section, you can actually you could record a video if you feel confident, and it's on the show. We'll feature it on the show, providing, of course, you're of sane mind. And over and above that, you get all the breaking stories on our app, which so many people, thousands of people, are now starting to do, because all the breaking stories are there, all the unique video content, all our reporters, great work, Adam and Kerry doing a great job. And all you have to do as well is hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, because with smart televisions now, YouTube's there. It's another TV station, and we're on it, Ruffy, and we're delighted at the support we're getting, because I have never witnessed so many people stopping us and saying, by the way, we watch the channel from near and far.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's guys actually using it to travel 4 hours in his car, to pass the time, on the way from Malaga to here. And it just shows you the avenues that we'll put out there for everybody, and they're all using it.
Yeah, and that takes some doing, though. Four hours with us, Ruffy. For God's sake, we should have agreed to sit in the back of his car and just talk to him. That's a nightmare. 4 hours from Malaga. Surely you can get a bit of Depeche Mode on to break up the monotony of it. Anyway, I digress, because 5-1. And Ange Postecoglou, after the match, had this to say, obviously, on the way they play, the manner of the goal attempts that they've had. He reckons that with a little bit of luck, it will turn and they will convert that into goals and wins next season.
If we play like that every year, I think you gain more belief, you gain more trust in what we're doing. The players feel more like they belong at this level. And look, we could have lost 2-0 tonight and created one or two chances and probably wouldn't look as bad, and people would say, well, that's not a bad result. But I just don't think that's the way forward. I just don't think that's how we're going to make an impact. I think we need to be a team that can score goals and be threatening against every opposition. And
so you heard Ange.
Yeah.
He's going to stick to the game plan. I think he's going to try and add a level above quality again to try and implement it and be more ruthless in the back line. Let's not forget, Ruffy, although they're good to watch, they're so open. I think they need to look and say to themselves, right, how do we try and implement and tweak the way Ange wants us to play, but with a real caution when you lose the ball, because there's no point in saying, oh, they're missing lots of chances in the other end. They're giving goals away, and this can't become a Kevin Keegan team. This can't become, well, we're going to go out there and try and score 4 because you've scored 3.
Yeah, as I said to you before the game, I said the weakness for me, and they are good players, the two fullbacks are excellent at going forward, but defensively they get caught out very, very easily with a quality team like this. You know, if you've got a fullback who's charging up the park and in the opposition box and you lose possession and there's a gaping hole where he's just come from, and these teams are smart enough to say, right, let's switch it, let's get down there, get it wide, get it in the box, and bang, it's a goal. There was one point, I think Celtic had a free kick.
Yeah,
within 5 seconds, it was nearly a goal at the other end.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, I know you've given your assessment of Courtois. What's your assessment of Joe Hart? Because I was speaking with a couple of other journalists and we were saying to ourselves, well, sometimes if you look at McGregor against Liverpool at Anfield, sometimes really good goalkeepers or keepers of a certain level produce saves that can keep you in the game as well. I look back over the campaign. Has there been a lot of Joe Hart making big saves?
I think in the earlier rounds there was big saves. I don't think he could have made any big saves last night. The 2 penalties are away, and the 3 other goals were, a bit of quality in there. He did have a couple of saves last night at important times, but not big saves that made Celtic go on and get a point or 3 points.
Yeah, I must admit that the one thing that was great to see last night was the amount of Celtic fans who were there. I mean, people who were there without tickets just left me completely and utterly gobsmacked. You could make that long journey and then to not get in must be heartbreaking for a lot of Celtic fans, although some people go there, Ruffy, with just the notion of, well, I want to be here in Madrid.
Yeah, and there's certainly a lot of wee eateries that you can go to and enjoy the day if you're not there. And the thing I liked about it, and most of the fans who didn't have tickets had just resigned to, I've not got a ticket. Yeah. I'm just going to be round about the stadium. I'm going to mix with my mates. I'm going to have a good time. As you said, we're here. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And all credit to them in the stadium. They were still there half an hour after the full-time whistle.
Well, the reason I mentioned that to you is because, quite simply, the ones who did get in were able to sample and cheer a Celtic goal in the Bernabeu, and that was, of course, Jota's. What a free kick it was.
It was wonderful, and just before he took it, we were looking at the Real Madrid player who was on the ground behind it. I mean, I've seen them lying down.
Behind the wall.
I've seen them lying down, but I haven't seen them crouching down, and he must have felt a bit silly when Jota went over the wall. What am I doing here?
It was a brilliant goal, and of course I was lucky enough at the end of the game when Jota came through. He stopped and kindly had a wee chat with us, and he explained what it was like. Just the best day of his life. It's the only way to sum it up. He was so happy from an individual situation, which you can't deny the boy, and his family and everything there to see him score that goal. And I think he felt so proud.
Definitely, I think this was one of the best moments of my life. As a kid, I always look for these teams and these stages, and to come here today and to score a goal, I think it's a very important moment for me and for my family, and they will understand, so they could see this in loco. So yeah, very happy for this.
that'll never leave him. That will stay with him forever.
No, you could see afterwards when you were all interviewing that although they'd be disappointed with the result, to score a goal like that in the Bernabeu will live with you for the rest of your life, and particularly with his family there, which made it a wee bit special.
Okay, it's a team game, Ruffy, but it's not a bad thing to say, well, I've scored a great goal, kind of wallow in it.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the supporters, you could see the lift that the supporters got for that goal. It was something to sort of hang on to. And I have to say that the Real Madrid supporters as well, just gave it as equal.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's 5-1. As an overview, Ruffy, my personal opinion on Celtic is I thought they were good to watch in all 6 matches. I thought they were too open. At times I thought that was a little bit naive. I can understand where Ange Postecoglou wants to go with this Celtic side, and at times going forward their passing has been impressive. Their chances that they created, we've looked back on many a striker that we know, if they'd been playing in Ange Postecoglou's side, they'd have been scoring barrel loads by now. Maybe some of them will get the experience. My personal opinion is he'll move some on that he knows can't play at this level.
Well, he's laid it down now, hasn't he? He's told the Celtic fans this is just the start, and now he has to prove to everybody that this is just the start. And if it is just the start with the quality that the Celtic have got just now, the next group of players who come in, and if they're even better than what he's got, I'm sure the fans would be more than happy to hang on to that.
Yeah, and the final word on that, because of course the flip side of this is now Celtic, bottom of the group, the same as Rangers, have to concentrate now on trying to get back there, and that's by winning the title. And Greg Taylor reiterated what Ange Postecoglou had said earlier. He believes that if they play the way they've been playing in the Champions League domestically, they're going to take some stopping.
Well, that's our philosophy. That's the way we believe we'll get a success in all competitions. Domestically, we've been pretty strong. We had throughout the first part of the season, first chunk, and even in Europe, we have performance-wise. I think we've been close, and I think if we double down on our football and continue to keep playing that way, I think that's the best chance of success in every competition.
So there's a flip side to it. Celtic have to now just concentrate up to the World Cup break, and then after that, when the signings will have been made, because I think, listening to Ange Postecoglou, he's got a couple that he's want to obviously bring in to try and strengthen this team.
Yeah, well, good teams are way ahead of everybody else, and obviously with that break in the World Cup, it gives more time for you to tie down whoever you're going to get, and again, there'll be a lot of players on show at the World Cup, maybe somebody that's not on his list. We always see somebody jumping from in any World Cup, and not a big name, somebody might say, well, he could be a young one for the future. So, yeah, it's going to be a big important time for Celtic.
Yeah, okay, they finished bottom, they got 2 points. It's a start for them. The only thing that you can look at, we can be critical of certain aspects of it. The fans seem happy enough at the way that the football is being played. Give us your view on it. If you're a Celtic fan, if you're a neutral looking on, what do you make of their failings and the positivities from Celtic's campaign? On the flip side of that, Borna Barisic, I was reading some of his comments, and he said the one thing that he's noticed, there's a lot of criticism that's come Rangers' way with the worst record ever in Champions League history, with -20 in the goal difference, and of course no wins from 6. Painful. Some of the teams that were playing, it was a tougher group. I think a lot of us imagine saying that's a tougher group when you've got Real Madrid in Celtic's group. But Borna Barisic said the level from Europa League, even reaching the final, he says that the gulf up to Champions League, he says, is huge, and they just couldn't make that step. What do you make of that comment?
Yeah, I would agree with it to a certain extent. There's no doubt about that the quality in the Champions League is good, but I think you have to look at another group to see that Eintracht have qualified. The team that just narrowly beat Rangers in the Europa Cup, so they've been able to handle it particularly well. But I do agree, the gulf is there, and maybe they are Europa Cup sides just now, but you don't want to be a Europa Cup side forever. You want to be Champions League.
Well, here's the difference, I think, between the Rangers angle on it and the Celtic angle on it. Well, Celtic may well look and say, well, they liked the way they played. They still finished bottom, and they were a pot 4 group. Rangers pot 4 group finished bottom. Disappointing. The contrast, though, is I think, as you mentioned there, Eintracht have been able to move up a level and try and survive at Champions League level. I think Rangers have gone backwards since the Europa League. I think the way they play certainly was something that a lot of Rangers fans were not happy with. They wanted high intensity. They wanted to create chances. That didn't materialise. And I think that's where the real basis of the criticism has come from the Rangers support. Quite simply, they're not happy the way Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's side plays. Injuries are not roughy. Everybody has to deal with them.
Yeah, but I would give him a bit of slack, Peter, with that one. Not the injuries, but obviously the players that have moved on, the quality players have moved on. You know, and Rangers, for me, aren't a settled team. They never have been since that Europa Cup. That is also something you've got to take into consideration. Yeah, injuries do come into it a wee bit.
What about the way they've played, Ruffy?
I think the way they've played has been because of the certain players who they've missed, who were a big success in the run in the Europa. And
well, I was in Anfield and I watched them, and they struggled to get out of their own half, Ruffy. I'm not in any way saying they should have been. I thought they should have competed a wee bit more. I thought they should have been braver on the ball at Anfield. At times they were scared to make that pass. They were struggling to go out, and then they had to go long. And then Liverpool, if it wasn't for Alan McGregor at Anfield, it would have been a 6 or a 7. And I just thought over the piece, at times they weren't brave enough. And I think the manager has to take some criticism because of the. I don't think he knew at times. There wasn't a style that people could say, this is the way we play, and okay, we've got a couple of injuries, then we've got to readjust. And he didn't have the quality in the background on that bench to come on. So much so that 4 central defenders are out, poor recruitment. Some people they let go. And it just didn't work out. It was like a catalogue of errors that all came in at one point to give them this disastrous campaign.
No, I think the Rangers supporters will look at that, and I thought the success of Rangers in Europe, in the Europa, were the midfield, Aribo, Kamara, and all of a sudden they're not there anymore. And instead of bringing in quality like that, we're left, and no disrespect to Arfield and Davis.
Yeah.
Arfield and Davis would not be near that midfield if Rangers had went out and bought quality for the ones that they'd lost.
Absolutely, but I would say this, and I'm a big fan of Steve Davis. I think Steve Davis, you look at the caps he's got for Northern Ireland's tremendous experience. If there's a criticism of Steve Davis, it's what we've mentioned before about a Scott Brown, a Neil Lennon. His only fault is he's growing old. Yeah. That's his only criticism. Yeah. He's growing old, and at that level, the intensity of midfielders and the speed. Maybe he should have had more people, of runners, younger people around him, just so that he could have played a kind of a number 6 role. But I don't think he was the main problem. I think it was that whole situation you said. The recruitment's been woeful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking Steve Davies. He's a quality player, there's no doubt about that. The point I'm making is, with Rangers losing the quality they had, they should have invested in equal quality to use Davis and Arfield sparingly. But as you know, when teams are struggling a wee bit, the manager resorts to experience, and the two of them have been thrown in. They haven't let Rangers down or anything like that. All I'm saying is Rangers should have used the vast amount of money that they got coming in to buy quality players.
Yeah, I don't think the money's there. And the reason why is because Giovanni Van Bronckhorst told us so, Ruffy. So it's not as if somebody's making it up. This is from within the Rangers camp. Well, it's back to domestic issues. And the point here is Rangers are in the semi-finals of the Premier Sports Cup. Rangers are only 4 points behind Celtic. So it's back to the grind domestically. I always find that a bit painful, Ruff, when you hit November and December and there's nothing to look forward to in the European games.
Yeah, and also we'll have to get to terms, leaving the Bernabeu and maybe going down to Livingston or up to Perth, and sampling their stadiums.
Yeah, let's not knock that, by the way. I've got a lot of friends up there. You clearly come to the end of your dinner season, I have to tell you. And the good thing as well, as we get ready to head back on the plane to Britain, Ruffy, is sometimes if you get these kind of cars that let you into private lounges, it's really good to look forward to, especially after you've worked really hard over a 4-day period and obviously subsidised heavily someone's drinking habit. But it looks as if that's going to escape us as well, Ruffy, because you're just going to get in there yourself. Is that fair?
No, I wouldn't leave you. I wouldn't leave you at all. But I really do have to subsidise for the bad buy I had yesterday in the pair of trousers that you conned me into.
Can I just say, you will be able to take them back to Zara and to share with everybody the pain of Ruffy. We decided we'd run out of gear, so we went to Zara, and Ruffy looked at a pair of chinos in Madrid. Sun's out, thinks he's living the lifestyle, and they were lucky to go over your knees. And that's just trying to get used to European sizes and British sizes. So that's our competition. Who would want to win a pair of Zara white chinos? It'd be great to give them away, Ruffy, if you'd sign them for us. Anyway, but knowing Ruffy as I do, he's kept a receipt and he's taking them back in the United Kingdom. So, Hearts, Istanbul. One of the worrying things is, although there's going to be 1,000 Hearts fans over there, I think I've been reading some of the posts on Twitter. There's a few scary moments. The last thing you want is to be walking about, Istanbul on your own. I hope they all stay together, stay safe, get to the game and get home safe.
Yeah, it's a place I've never been to, but I've heard a lot of stories. It's just on the border of, where there's some trouble going on just now. But I would like to think that the people are taking the supporters over there will be actively, telling them where to go. Don't go there, and they all come home safely and enjoy the football.
I was just about to say to you, Ruffy, I remember in 1975 going to the Odeon Cinema in Glasgow. I was a young boy at the time and I watched Jaws. And after that, I thought to myself, I'm not going to swim in the sea. And then a couple of years later, I watched Midnight Express. And if my mum ever turned around and said, "Do you fancy a holiday in Turkey?" You're all right.
No, let's not knock it. No, I've not been to Istanbul. I've been to Turkey for golfing trips, Belek, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there going holiday there. It's a lovely place, but I think it's just the area where the Hearts are playing is not good at the moment.
Okay, right, there you are. There's your...
a bit of CNN news there.
That was just about to say. You sounded like a British diplomat. That was brilliant, Ruffy. But I'm still not going. Anyway, that's European football for me summed up. On the park, I think there's been a few good moments. I think Hearts deserve credit because they've managed to get a couple of wins against RFS. I think tonight they're going to get a spanking, and I hate saying it, but I've had a right good prediction run in this. I said Rangers wouldn't get a point at the start of the campaign. Celtic maybe a win, but they didn't materialise. But I've called most of the games right.
Yeah, you certainly have, and in the evidence of the game at Tynecastle, you can't see any improvement in that. They have got a quality. You would just hope maybe they would take the foot off the gas a wee bit, and Hearts put up a good performance on the night and come away not too scarred by what's happened in European football.
Yeah, okay. What's your prediction? I'm going to go 3-0.
2, I'll stick for 2.
2, okay. Defeat that is, but sadly. But again, huge learning curve and financially rewarding for Hearts, although, me being the patriotic Scot, I really wanted Hearts to get into the Europa League. I thought they would have got them more money again, but it didn't materialise. Anyway, just as an overview before we move on quickly to a couple other points, Ruffy, and thank you to everyone for watching the programme and hitting the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. As an overview of the other matches that were happening in Europe, Shakhtar Donetsk against Leipzig. Boy, Leipzig took the revenge out in them, didn't they?
Yeah, Leipzig have come alive, in the latter part of this competition. I think we all saw, because the Rangers did particularly well against Leipzig, that there was a wee chance there. Well, I thought there was a wee chance.
But Marco Rose has made a difference.
Yeah, they're saying that now, whereas we're talking about our teams haven't really improved much. I think a lot of teams in Europe have improved. They've went out and bought real quality because they want to be in the Champions League. So if Rangers and Celtic are going to hang on to them, they need to do likewise.
Yeah, absolutely. Benfica finished top of the group ahead of Paris Saint-Germain, albeit they thumped Maccabi Haifa, I think, 6-1. But to finish top of the group, PSG second, PSG might say, okay, we're through, but sometimes it can have implications.
It might have implications, because they could be drawn against Real Madrid, they could be drawn against Bayern, that wouldn't have happened, if they were top of the league. So, they'll be anxiously keeping their eye on this next draw. Yeah,
and a wee word and well done to Calvin Ramsey. 10 minutes is something to be proud of. Comes on in a Champions League win for Liverpool against Napoli. For that boy, the future looks so bright.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we just like to see players like that, come and showing the real potential that we all know they have.
Okay, couple of other things I want to talk about. Give us your view on European football. We're back to domestic issues over the weekend. We'll be talking about that in detail with Tam McManus, our Scotland correspondent. He stays in Scotland while we travel across Europe, Ruffy.
Yeah.
But Tam will be there to discuss the domestic games with us, and obviously further fallout from the week of European games for Scottish clubs. We'll discuss Hearts on tomorrow's programme as well. Hit the subscribe button if you get a chance. We'd love your support on the show, near or far, doesn't matter where you live. The amount of expats who are actually messaging us and meeting us and saying they're loving the show is absolutely fantastic. We're on 5 days a week. Other than radio shows, Ruffy, I don't think there's anything on television on 5 days a week giving you the coverage with reporters and breaking stories and being out at domestic and European games.
Yeah, we do our best. We don't stick to the big boys. We sort of go about it. You know, we give everybody a wee chance to come on and air their views and talk about their club, and I think that's what the people respect.
Yeah, and one of the guys we had on, David Martindale, has said that he doesn't see Scotland following the pathway of the Netherlands in banning plastic pitches. I like David, I've got a lot of time for him. He's got to say that because he's managing a club with a plastic pitch, and I think Ange Postecoglou mentioned last night in the press conference that, again, Carter Vickers, one of those players, he had to rest him because he was sore playing on that plastic pitch, and he says you have to alter your game. The game changes, and that's not right. So he's not a fan of it. I can't stand them in top flight. I think it's an embarrassment for us, and I think it's time again where someone in the country needs to gather a bit of pace and momentum and saying you got to get rid of them.
Yeah, I think the time will come. You know, I can see where David's coming from because he's got one, but it's not good on the eye. And I think if you ask the majority of players, do they like playing in it, it would be a no. I think in top level football you should have grass. We've seen the quality of the pitches, particularly Motherwell, you know, who have went grass and big time, spent a lot of money, and it looks great on the eye. The players love playing in it. But for me, I agree with you when you see a player, not just Celtic, but any team who are coming up to play in Astroturf and the manager says, well, I'm not going to risk day 2 of the day because it's Astroturf. That's something you don't want to hear.
Yeah, I have to say though, Real Madrid's pitch last night was not in great condition,
No.
but it was okay for one of their players. He had a unique way of playing on the grass because it was all rutted and bumpy. It didn't look great at all, and I think someone had said that they'd had problems with this new turf that they had laid, but the boy, I think his name was Modric, he seemed to hover over the top of the grass, Ruffy, and just play a pass with the outside of his boot, and that looked as if it was the key to success.
Yeah, and he had a remarkable ability to stay out the bits that were rutted, you know, and just and move into a nice wee patch, you know, and said, just give me here.
Have you ever witnessed a player who looked as if he was available for every pass?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who just, if you were to just look at the whole game, but look at one player, just watch him and the movement he's got, and it must be a joy for other players who, because Real Madrid play in that tight situation, no goalkeeper to full back to centre half, and if there's a panic or a get out, it's him. He just makes himself available.
Yeah, okay, that's Champions League stuff. Give us your thoughts. Give us your thoughts on Hearts, how you think it's all going to go. Couple of things to do with the World Cup coming up. Obviously, players don't want to get injured now, so close to it. They hope they're going to be involved in this tournament in Qatar. Jason Cummings is actually on the verge. If it all goes his way, and boy, I hope it does for him, he could be playing for Australia at the World Cup, Ruffy. That squad will be announced soon. He could be in it.
Yeah, and we always say, you know, that players that are here in Scotland, and I don't want to call them troubled players, but players who can't find a route to get to the level where they are, and we always say, well, why don't you go away? Get away out of the environment that you're in, whether it's Glasgow, Edinburgh, or whatever, and try something else. And he's certainly a boy who's went and tried something else, and he's enjoying it, and good luck to him. Yeah, because you know he's a good player.
Isn't it amazing that you know, he's playing for Central Coast Mariners? He's really grasped the nettle and realised that in the twilight of his career, maybe he's got a second chance. Yet someone I think who's technically better than him, a better goal scorer, a better player, has done an interview in the last week on the BBC. Lee Griffiths, who's contemplating chucking football. Nobody seems to want him.
Yeah, well, I thought when he came into that category when he went to Australia, I went, that might be the best move ever to get away from it. But he only stayed 2 or 3 months. You know, you'd have to ask Lee why he didn't fancy it. But that's incredible with somebody with that ability once he hang up his boots at his age.
Yeah, one guy I hope is okay. I watched him last weekend, and when he went off at half time with the injury, I thought Martin Boyle's had a knee injury before. Hope this is not the same one. It looks as if there's a real worry about it now. I know Lee Johnson thought it was maybe just a nerve, the way his leg got hit, but potential knee injury could rule him out of the World Cup. We're about to find out over the next maybe couple of days.
Oh, an absolute tragedy. You know, that any player who thinks they're going to the World Cup, and obviously the selection thing's a big thing. Sometimes you're in the 30 and it's cut to 22 and you lose out. And any player that loses out and going to a World Cup, it must be hard to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Watt, red card rescinded. Right decision.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you looked at the photographs, it didn't look too good. But if you see it in real time, you know, he did try to pull his foot out of the boy's leg.
Yeah, he's not a dirty player, Tony. We've had him on the show. Good lad. So that's the way it looks. Lots of things that we've been discussing. You can give us your view on it as well. We're about to get on the plane, Ruffy. We've got all our bags packed. We're all ready to rock and roll. The weather's not great out there, but you still get your shorts on. Our cameraman's got his shorts on as well, which is not a great look, by the way, which reminds me of we need to watch that series again, Bigfoot and the Hendersons, because he looks like a Yeti, doesn't he? There's hair everywhere.
Yeah.
It's mental. By the way, the only thing missing is a lightsaber and Chewbacca going.
But he has done remarkably well.
Oh, he's done well, by the way. He's been sick for 4 days.
He's sick for the day. And, it's just as well we gave him a hand with all the gear.
You really are a man who understands demarcation, Ruffy, aren't you? You're a World Cup star. You're lifting nothing. It's as simple as that. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed our coverage from Madrid. I have to say, if you're looking at the channel and you can see the things we're doing, hopefully you like it and you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hopefully you can download that app. The app has got all the breaking stories north and south of the border across Europe and globally as well. And it's got unique video content. We're live. We've got Kerry Pollock out there, Adam Binney. Both of them have done a sensational job covering Celtic and Rangers across Europe in the Champions League. We've dipped into Hearts in the Europa Conference League as well, and we will continue to do that, and hopefully you'll enjoy the bigger and better things we've got coming up. We're going to follow the World Cup as well, Ruffy.
Oh, fantastic. You know, as you know, if I told you, I've been to 3 of these.
Yes,
yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of experience on the show this time from certain people to talk about the World Cup and the experiences. So, yes.
Yeah. Is
Tam doing it?
No, I don't think there's any point in time. What can Tam offer the show in a World Cup special? Anyway, so we'll be giving you lots of other material that you can enjoy, unique video content, and Ruffy will be there as well. And I can tell you that over the next couple of weeks, we've been across Europe and we've bought special items at every club we visited, Ruffy, and I went in there to get the Modric shirt, and we're going to be giving that away as well.
Oh, fantastic Christmas present. I'm sure some parent that maybe wins it will give it to his kid for Christmas.
Yeah, it would be absolutely superb. So that's just a flavour of what we've been doing, and hopefully you're enjoying the channel as well. It's been great here in Madrid. The people have been lovely. I've loved the city. The stadium, when it's finished, Ruffy, it's the best stadium I've been in. And by the way, I loved the Amsterdam Arena, and I know you've played in the Maracanã.
Yeah, and I like San Siro, but I think San Siro is just too high for the supporters.
Yeah.
But
what about the new camp?
This is, yeah.
You like the new camp
I like
as well?
the new camp, but I liked last night. I just wish they'd stop shoving the supporters away up into the gods.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the Celtic fans made themselves heard. It was absolutely fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We got a bit of Real Madrid memorabilia, spent a bit of money on it. Ruffy bought a keyring. That's an indication of the man. Hopefully I've given you a real insight into him as well. And Ruffy, long may these European nights continue.
Yes.
I want more of them, do you?
Yeah, I can see when the next draw comes round, we'll be looking at the group stages and we'll be not looking at the quality of the teams that we're drawn against, as how nice the places are.
Absolutely, and whether the restaurants we're going to are going to pick up the tab, about 250 quid on drink and food,
Yes.
which is fantastic,
Yes.
Ruffy.
It is, as long as you're not paying for it.
Yes, absolutely. There's the ethos of Ruffy in one sentence. I leave you with the way we started the programme. Great to follow European football. Not great for Rangers. Certainly finishing bottom's not good, but there's lots to digest and discuss. Give us your opinion on it. That's what we want to hear. You can engage with us and fellow fans as well. Celtic and Hearts fans, what's your thoughts on it too? Join us. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'll be back home in Scotland with Tam McManus on the show tomorrow to look ahead to the weekend's Scottish Premiership fixtures and in the lower leagues as well. Thank you very much for watching from Madrid, from Ruffy and myself. Adios.